Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Welcome to another chapter of Startup Grind Bratislava. Before I introduce our guest, I would like to give big thanks to our sponsors and partners, namely Decent, IBM, UK Embassy in Bratislava, and also Binarium for providing this amazing venue. Also, heads up to Slido. So we're gonna have discussion, but feel free to ask questions. Use hashtag SUGBA. So I guess most of you guys have already used Slido, so it's very simple. Just log in slido.com, use the hashtag, and feel free to ask questions. We're gonna be answering them as we discuss. All right. I would like to introduce our guest. I borrowed his personal description from his LinkedIn profile because I found it very, very interesting, and I think it best describes himself and what he does. So here it comes. Ján was born with pliers and battery in hands. Then he learned math and coding and ended up at MIT playing with cameras, optics, when he realized that he doesn't need to sleep. He co-founded Photoneo with 3 priorities in mind. Automate, automate, automate. And one more, to have fun. Amazing. So please welcome Ján Žižka, co-founder and CEO of Photoneo. All right, guys, do you hear it well? Far back, is it fine? Perfect. All right. Ján, welcome. Let's start with first set of quick questions about your background. So can you talk a bit more about your upbringing and your school, high school, how it all went?
Okay, I'm originally from quite small city in middle of Slovakia, and yes, as the description already told, I always tend to be into like some kind of technology and so on and so on. And what I feel it was quite important that like definitely my father gave me some background and so on and so on. On the other side, that still I think people it's good when you do something on your own, when you want to finish something. And I always have been like extremely competitive, like sometimes it was like slightly sick, but okay. But I think it's very important. And yeah, high school, like yes, generic high school, like gymnasium, you know. And then yes, I had to make a decision, and I somehow chosen as Bratislava. In that time, for me, it was yes, it's a capital city. So for me, it was in principle big move. Today, I would say today generation for them it's just Bratislava, you know, like you should go to I don't know Caltech or I don't know MIT something, but for me at that time that was a big move for me, you know. And but I think it's actually here Matvis, and but the background was very good, and I think that really those fundamental classes like I don't know algebra and you know all this, I would say like those are things which I would not learn myself, you know, just like a hobby.
Yeah.
Algebra is not a hobby, you know, like
yeah.
So I think that's important that in principle that school somehow forced me to learn that, but I wanted to learn it, you know. And then then I was quite lucky and went to this MIT, and I think that was main motivation for all the entrepreneurship and all these things.
So you already touched on MIT. That was my other question. So what was the first thing that came to your mind when you entered MIT? I guess it's one of the best places when it comes to innovation, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Must be amazing venue. Like, what was it? What were the feelings that you got when you just stepped in the campus?
I would say it started even sooner. You know, my professor wanted to send me to I don't know Graz, Prague, and I don't know somewhere, but I was like I don't want to go somewhere. You know, like I know it's boring. It's fine here in Bratislava,
Yeah.
and But then this offer from MIT came, and that's like a different league. So definitely I was totally excited, and I still let's say first day, yes, exactly, total excitement and everything. But still I was like, yes, I have to be good and prove that I can be good, and so on and so on. And but it turned out that even when I came back, I still had a few classes here during PhD at Matfis. So I told people that they are not smarter than let's say here in Slovakia, like the people. And but the difference is really the network. Each day you have professor from Caltech, Berkeley, something, Stanford, and you see the newest and best results. And actually the thing itself that you are going there, and yes, as I wanted to prove that I am the best, you can guess what other Chinese, Japanese, and German guys wanted to do. So, that's the thing, that everybody who comes there, it's simply so motivated and so excited. We were working 16 hours per day, and sometimes even sleeping there, and I don't know what. The community, everything is very, very fast, motivating, and so on and so on.
In which part of this endeavor, studying in Slovakia, going to MIT, when the first idea for Photoneo came up?
Probably I should tell that I'm born like entrepreneur or something like that, but it's not true. For us with Thomas, in principle, the technical invention itself was the momentum. We spent quite a long time in the field, and after inventing this thing, I still can remember really goosebumps, on my body, that right after the invention, 1 hour after that okay, this is crazy, I would say I have invented thousands or hundreds of things probably, but this was very different, and you really can feel it that okay, this is not a fun invention as other 100 I did already. So that was the first moment, definitely. And but as I said, definitely MIT gave me also some momentum, because for example, what is very interesting, my professor Ramesh Raskar, he had a class named Imaging Ventures. So it was really class about how you can use cameras, displays, and other hardware, software, some sensing techniques, and what you would do if you would like to start a company. That was a class. And when I came back, I told everybody that we should do this. It's totally different mindset. In that time here at Matfis, it's algebra, computer science, something, but that's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely no direction, no motivation. And I think we have even discussed a few years ago the connection between management and Matfis and so on and so on. I still find it interesting, that idea. So
yeah. Before we jump into Photoneo, I want to ask you guys, how many of you actually know what Photoneo does? Just raise your hands. All right, 30, 40%. So I think let's start with explaining first.
Okay, so maybe historically we have started with invention of a new, novel 3D scanning technology, and yes, it turned out that it's currently based in the world, and I think we have quite good confirmation of that already. And then we started explore what are usages where we will bring the most value, and so on and so on, and robotics was our choice. And today we shape as eye and brain for robotics. That's the main mission, and yes, we want to bring really flexible and somehow intelligent robotics mainly to industrial applications today, but in the future it may be also broader coverage.
So you guys mainly have now products in place, right, that you're selling. Can you talk a bit more about the products? Maybe try to explain it as you are explaining it to 7 years old, right? I know it's very complex. I checked your website and just reading specs, it's quite complex. So maybe just go in very simple words.
So today, when you buy like a robot, like industrial arm or something like that, in principle, it's totally dumb machine. You know, there's no intelligence, no decision making behind. You can just do like from point A to point B, and doesn't matter what. You know, if your hand is here, the robot will collide with you. If the object is not there, robot will do that either way, and so on and so on. So really no intelligence, and we are bringing really vision and brain, and that means yes, the robot is able to tell, yes, is that object there, is another location, what should I do? So, you know, some decision making and so on and so on. And this really brings mainly flexibility to all the entire process, because today integration time for the robots is extremely high, because you have to, in principle, let's call it, teach the robot every movement exactly, and if anything changed, you have to do that again, and so on and so on. So it's good for some applications, you know, like today there's still quite a lot of robots in the field, but simply this is a new wave, you know, like which should help, yes, replace some people and do some interesting jobs and so on and so on. But it's just the beginning, you know, like really the final goal is maybe 3 to 5 years ahead.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to actually bring the product to market, from just an idea and forming, you know, the team, until actually, you know, providing value for your customers?
I think one important thing we did was that we introduced something like minimum viable product before the main product, and that helped us to you know, talk to customers, get feedback, shape the future product. And what was very interesting, that we are now using in this really nice product and the final product, something like, let's say, 80% of hardware and software from the previous one, and that helped us to make it much faster. So this first one was just maybe a year, but this one, because we needed to develop our own CMOS image sensor, like a silicon crazy project, that's actually 4 years from the beginning. But you know, first half a year we just wrote patents and explored the market and so on and so on. So yeah, I would say for me it's extremely long time. Like you know, when the sensor came first day, I always thought that I will totally enjoy the situation, but for me it was like, okay guys, but it was 4 years, you know, like I was somehow not disappointed, but not as happy as I expected, because it took ages, you know, and I would like to do things as fast as possible, and but still, on the other hand, when I compare to other competitors, it's actually not so bad, you know. It just it's just disappointing that it took
takes time, right?
Yes.
So was there any bottleneck that actually prevented you from, you know, passing some form of product development? I don't know, like computing power or momentum, or customers weren't ready? Was there anything during the way before you launched the actual product that actually you had to wait to overcome, you know, either internally or externally?
You know, still that development of the CMOS image sensor. Yes, if I would be naive, I would say yes, it should be done in a few weeks, and that's it. You know, that would be perfect situation. On the other side, all your competitors have the same disadvantage as you. So okay, you can accept that somehow, and you know, I would say it's I'm trying always to find somehow shortest or somehow best way how to approach the challenge. So yes, from one side you can tell that yes, our customers were not ready to work with crazy amount of 3D data and so on and so on. It's true on one side. On the other side, for me, it just meant that okay, we should develop better, easy to use tools and algorithms and so on to solve the situation. You know, it's like yes, you can tell that yes, it maybe is slowing us down. On the other side, it's another side of IP. So today, actually, 80% of developers in Photoneo are software developers. Really, maybe even 90%. Like, we are not even hardware company anymore because chip is done, and we are building really vertical and full stack company, and that mainly requires software development.
Yeah. Let's go more into kind of a general approach. So, in general, what do you think are the limitations of current technology that prevents you and your competitors or other companies that are building some form of smart machines or smart algorithms? What is it that restricts you to put it onto another level, bring it to masses, or kind of build it cheaper, build it faster? What is it?
I think it's not a very good reason, but it's a reason that today, we have no general AI, no general smart solution or something like that. So it's still very, very narrow field. Always that AI, machine learning, deep learning, doesn't matter, something. It always solves just very narrow thing. It's just you have to know your problem perfectly, and then you can apply some machine learning. And yes, there's a chance that it will work very well in some cases. On the other side, usually it's extremely difficult to transfer the knowledge somewhere, and so on and so on. And that's also case in for Photoneo, that you can imagine if I have a robot, let's say picking microphones or I don't know something. It may not be so simple to transfer the knowledge to picking glasses, I don't know, because they are transparent, or I don't know, there's some issue with grip or something. So still, like if we are talking about real world, I think machine learning is really early. And if you take a look today at the entire field, in principle, everything you would consider a success is in principle, I call it digital artificial intelligence. So that means, yes, I have a database of, million of items or whatever, something. Yeah. And yes, in that case, it's a binary and everything works well in that world. And yes, then it's much simpler. But in the real world, it's very difficult to, how to tell that, to separate just one, not dimension, but one aspect of entire, even here, I don't know, lightning is different, someone can come here and somehow change the situation, and I don't know, something. So still, real world is too complicated, and usually you have to have somehow restricted situation to be successful. Otherwise, it's too general. It's still very general, and yes, you have to solve specific problem and usually ensure at least some conditions to be successful.
So this brings me to kind of another topic of machines thinking, right? There is this analogy that I have that submarines are meant to move in water, but we never say that they swim, right? Us people, when we enter water, we swim. So what is it that machines are doing? Like us humans, we call it thinking, right? But it has a lot of different kind of aspects to it. Is it thinking, or how would you put it? Like, what would be the rather better name for it?
Computing. Today it's really computing. I like one interpretation. It's Ken Goldberg from Berkeley, and I'm not sure if I can remember exactly, but he called it. In principle, for example, even I don't know, convolutional neural networks and many other aspects or approaches for machine learning today, it's more or less, you can solve it. You can call it like solving of big equation or something like that. It's quite ugly name for that, but in principle it's true. It's like, yes, you trained the network, you tuned in principle zillion of parameters, and then you just take input, apply something on that, and and you will get output. That's it. Like definitely today, I still would call it pure computing. I don't want to be pessimistic, but it's true, and there's another interesting approaches which really learn online, like reinforcement learning, and so on and so on. And some of them are maybe successful, but today it's still. Last week I had one discussion with one VC from US, and they have invested actually into the company, but the description was, yes, technology is really perfect, but we actually don't know what to do with that. They have invested, but still it was kind of very early, and that was actually reinforcement learning for also for robotic arms and for grasping and similar things. And yes, it's still too early, and I heard few months ago very nice sentence that machine learning is like teenage sex, that everybody is talking about it, but nobody has it actually. So, and I think it's true in many cases, really, because even today, when you take Amazon Echo and Siri, all these things, so I would say 95%, at least 95% of those applications are really not critical. It's just, yes, if your face will be not perfectly identified in Facebook, or I don't know, yes, Amazon Echo will tell you, I don't know, wrong address for your pizza, or I don't know, something, nobody cares. And that's still very different level. For example, for us in robotics, it's not very fun, like you can't destroy something or hurt a human, or even we may pay penalties if that robot will stop in the production, and so on and so on. So like again, I don't want to be pessimistic. I just don't like overhyping the entire AI, because yes, it's true that even today we can do crazy things, like really much better than humans. And that's actually another point, that if you think about it today, usually AI is good in jobs in which humans are not very good. If I would give you 2 terabytes of data here, okay, what you will do? It's almost impossible to do something useful, or you will spend a few years to study that and find some patterns or something like that. I think what people expect from AI in the near future is that they expect that AI will do what humans are good at, and that starts to be very difficult, because you are in principle really a general machine, and that's extremely difficult.
So what do you think is that it's still missing for machines to actually kind of complement humans, right? Like machines still cannot express their feelings, right? They can be taught feelings, but they never can actually stand for their feelings. There is this creativity part that they're still missing. Do you think this is technically possible for machines to actually acquire these skills or this type of knowledge, or we're just far away from this happening?
Let me answer or tell something slightly different but connected to this question, that I think it's also important to understand, okay, like usually when people think about it, it's like, yes, it's me, I know all these things, and now I'm smart, and yes, I'm much smarter than any AI. But it's very important to realize what's the cost of that. Like first it's I don't know how many billions of evolution, and like it was in principle. So yeah, evolution is first like long-term improvement, which improves humans, or improved historically humans and animals, and so on and so on. And then the second, I don't know, for you, I know you have 25, 30, I know you spent quite a long time with education, and now you are extremely smart and clever, and so on and so on. That's okay, but like to be fair, we have to first give that computer okay, now you have, I don't know, 1 billion year for your evolutionary algorithmic part, and then I will give you 20 years of education and babysitting and I don't know what. And then, yes, that I don't know what would be the result, but comparing 1 day of training of machine learning, it's a very different story. And obviously, that's the key. That's why we are so general, because we were trained historically on extremely different situations and people mixed and I don't know, it's very difficult to imagine, I don't know, 1 billion year of evolution. I don't know how much. So that's, I'm not telling that it should take so long for us to develop AI, but we should be fair that yes, it's extremely difficult, and I think that is what is missing. That we have to start with something simple but general, and then improve it over time. But usually that doesn't make sense for Google, Apple, or someone, because they are in business. Like today, I think like my prediction for next few years would be that usually people will take today probably deep learning, will apply it, and they will be successful for the particular problem, because they are solving usually very narrow field or problem, and yes, they will be successful, and that's it. And from some point of view, that would slow down this universal development of this universal AI, but it's not necessarily bad. Still, having solving those simple problems may be still useful. So you can do some kind of stag learning or something. So still, even this business-driven AI developments may be very beneficial for the future.
Yeah. So there's a couple of interfaces that are now being, kind of represented by machine learning, by smart algorithms. So we have chatbots, right? Obviously, we have voice assistants. We are now getting our home smarter. We are working on automated cars, self-driving cars. So what do you think are the next interfaces after? Maybe from your perspective of more industrial kind of angle, but also more a general use. I know that MIT is working on some crazy stuff, and I know that you're traveling back and forth. So maybe you can also tell us a bit more on what's cooking there.
So yeah, you are right. There's few groups working on really crazy interfaces. The question is, again, what a common guy would expect. It still may be very natural to expect from some kind of future Amazon Echo that you will interface as you would to other humans. It's very natural. So yes, you can bring crazy other interfaces, and many times it may be extremely entertaining or very useful or very fast or something, but still, yes, the question is if my grandmother would use that. Sometimes not, and then even for example, touchscreen. I'm not sure what's your experience, but older people usually are not very good because it's too sensitive in principle. And what I think that may happen in the quite near future is some kind of let's call it emotional sensing. For example, your Amazon Echo, I would say quite easily can recognize if you are angry or I don't know, bored or I don't know, something.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually not so difficult to achieve that functionality. And I think that may bring somehow closer this digital robots to humans. That's again the same point that if you would ask what's the best robot today, or most best from the technical point of view. It's either your smartphone or this Amazon Echo. And historically, people expected, bipedal robots, I don't know, washing your dishes or I don't know, something crazy. But again, that was something we in the company discussed, 3-4 years ago, that probably that will not happen at all. Or maybe, but this Amazon Echo will be 5 times smarter than today in 3 years maybe. But that bipedal robot will be as creepy as today, and because it's like, yes, working in the real world, and there's mechanics, I know all other aspects, and in principle it doesn't make sense. And another quite heavy topic I discussed a few times with my friends is that in principle there are two ways how we can have like perfect robots. Let's call it perfect robots. And one is that yes, either Amazon Echo or some bipedal robot in reality will interface with us. And second is that we will bring our minds into the virtual reality in principle much sooner, because it may be more easy to do that in pure digital domain. And I don't want to predict this, but I have a feeling that yes, this is really possible. Like this may happen sooner than here in physical world, because I'm pretty sure you have seen that situation. I know in a waiting room, in hospital, for example, 10 people will come inside, and what will happen? Everybody will take his phone and in principle disconnect from reality, and from some point of view it's entering virtual reality. It's yes, probably too strong sentence, but still, like the motivation to be disconnected from the reality is very strong. I don't know those people, because probably I want to check, I don't know, my girlfriend or I know something, so I will do that. And if the interface for this would be more more natural and emerging in principle, then yes, probably you will do that in that case. And yes, then digital robot in the domain is much simpler. That's a computer game. We have that already, and it's quite smart, and it's much easier to train. And and then there are other aspects that in virtual reality you can have better car and better sneakers and I don't know what, because it's cheap.
Better girlfriend.
Yeah. And I understand it's a quite crazy topic, but like if you take a look at, let's say, past 10 years, what happened in this field of digital robots and what happened in field of physical robots, I hope that we will develop perfect robots to still have some food and so on and so on. On the other side, it still may happen that even today, majority of robots are digital, not analog.
I'm with you, because when I watched the most recent videos from Boston Dynamics, I don't know if you saw it, but
sure.
They created this robot that they eventually put into like forest, just run around, and then started to kick it, and it was so like, if you kick a person, right, like in martial arts, it's kind of natural. You see the dynamics of the body, but it was, though they were copying the physiology of body, it was so unnatural to see like what robot was actually doing and how it actually interacted. So I think this might be a big application, just putting this into virtual reality and just allowing people just pause if they want and then enter if they want to engage. So I'm curious to see, you already touched on this, that more and more jobs and also activities are being replaced by people. Do you think at some point there's going to be a kind of switch when people are going to kind of give up on working or doing their tasks? There's this nice story. Gary Kasparov, the chess master, when he got beaten by computer for the first time, they asked him like, what is his impression? You know, like, is it over for you? He said like, this is one of the most exciting days for me because not only I got beaten by something artificial and no one did before, right? It was master. But I also learned new moves that no one have ever tried on me. I learned new tricks. And he said like, this is not a competition. This is kind of complementary service or application. So this is one use and kind of feedback of someone that actually agrees with kind of working together with computers or machines. Do you think this is going to be continuing as machines are getting smarter and smarter and kind of taking on more and more activities, or people going to just say, okay, like that is smarter, I'm just going to, back off and let it do its job, and then also like, people going to be losing their, creativity, and they're just going to kind of back off. What do you think?
Again, if we are talking about, let's say 5-10 years, I will say it will not happen, and I still feel that historically people were able to find the sweet spot, or how to tell that. Like, yes, when agriculture was automated, yes, that was not a problem in principle, and I still feel that if you take a look today, what kind of jobs are emerging. I know it's like you have bloggers, all this yoga, and I know what kind of different exercises, and like if you would ask 100 years ago someone who was working 10 hours per day on that field, you will be very surprised. Like, this is a job, like it's fun, it's not a job, and that will definitely continue. And yes, as you have said, probably much more from that creativity, much more arts and entertainment and so on, that would go further. And yes, and there's another thing that still someone has to manage those machines, like engineers, programmers, and so on, that will still require new development or maintenance of those systems and so on. And yes, that's quite boring, but that will happen. And the second thing you mentioned, and I would say that may be quite difficult in the future, is that people may lose motivation for education, and that's really bad, I think. And I think I have heard something like when it was quite clear that agriculture will be almost fully automated. In US there was some activity to support new education or something like that, and I think I'm almost sure that will be necessary in the future, and even now I don't remember exactly which university it was. I know either Duke or something like that. They announced a program for esports, like university.
Yeah.
So again, esports is a very funny job from some point of view, but yes, so definitely entire education system will shift to something different, and I really hope that people will not learn history and similar things. Like, yes, it's good to learn history, but not every year, and like all this memorizing was the right term for that. That's something I totally hated during my studies, and I really hope that like today when you have Wikipedia, why you should do that? Like it's, I don't know, probably 3 seconds. That's it. Why I should learn that? And yes, hopefully. But one big problem is that if you see how, so in principle those, let's call it cycles, they shrink in principle almost exponentially, and what is not true is that our brain is not able to adapt exponentially, and that's the issue, that people will probably not be fast enough to adapt to all those changes. So usually, like, you can make change during yes, my father and me, and so on and so on. So it usually it's a few decades, like let's say 2 decades is enough to do some radical change.
Yeah.
Let's say, and but now if in 10 years we will have first more or less general artificial intelligence, and then in maybe 5 years we will have almost anything, then yes, there's no chance that people will be able to adapt. So probably what is necessary is that development of the technology and also that artificial intelligence should be, I don't want to tell like controlled, but somehow at least like the results and the impact of that should be very, very careful and very, very like smooth transition, and we should be careful, otherwise I don't believe that people you see that like the first way was when I don't know, my mother is more or less okay, but usually older colleagues of my mother were not okay with even the PCs, like ordinary Windows, Word, I don't know, Office, common applications, and yes, and they had like typing machines and all these things. So the transition was not so fast, but still they were not able to adapt. And as the technology is growing, yes, exponentially.
So do you think that there are some skills that young kids that are not even born now, they're gonna need to possess and being learned or being taught in order to actually accept and bear with the exponential growth that is just upbringing, right? Like we have these trends,
Yep.
we have Turing tests, we have this singularity that some people like to talk about. We don't know when it's going to happen, but at some point, if it's going to happen, then the whole world is going to change. What are the skills that you think, our generation, perhaps, our kids, our grandkids, going to need to actually have in order to, keep up with the world that's going to be happening?
I would say
if there are any.
But one solution may be that, in principle, they will have just fun and that's it. Everything will be so easy and so so natural. You will have food for free and I don't know what, and maybe like it, I would say for me it's a not good, let's call it, end of humanity. But I feel that it may happen. If the motivation for education and people usually want to have more always, and that's a good thing, and we have to somehow keep that, like to somehow still motivate people that yes, you want to have more, you have to like first study and second work on your skills and so on, and without that, that would be quite boring end for humanity, because then there will be no development, nothing will happen. But I would say I don't believe that people are very creative and very like eager. So I hope that it will not happen. But even today, you see that maybe 1/3 of population is they don't want to do something creative or something innovative or something hard. Like they want to have easy life and that's it. And yes, for them it will be very easy to live in that world because everything will be accessible and cheap.
Yeah. All right, let's move on Slido questions. So first one, how should I start engaging with AI when I pursue this field in my future?
Probably some YouTube training. I think it is good to learn really the basics of AI. It's yes, probably in the future something may change the field entirely, but still today, yes, knowing I know few of those frameworks like I don't know TensorFlow or something like that, that's still very good and will be good in the next few years definitely. And I feel that yes, many authorities in this field already did several great classes, online classes. So you want to learn from the best, and that's it.
So what are the resources or tools that you are using, or perhaps your team, just to keep up with the
we are
technological
TensorFlow.
trends?
We are using TensorFlow.
Okay.
And I would say today, because like maybe 3 years ago, people were still thinking that yes, maybe we should do our own framework or something. But yes, if you are not a big company, I would not try that today. It's so well polished and so yeah. Depends on what you want to do. If you are going to develop general artificial intelligence, then yes, TensorFlow may not be your option definitely. But if you do, let's say, yes, if you are not like AI first company, if you really are using that for development of your own tools or to help with your product, then yes, all those tools are very good today.
All right, another one. What kind of machine learning are you using? Did you develop it yourselves, or you are using solution from another company?
So I would say both of those are true, definitely. And today the main topic we are solving is picking of unknown objects. That's Michael's work, or director of AI. And I would say it's a very, very nice topic. I really like it, and it's I think yes, also other companies, also we are quite close to solve that to yes, meaningful level. And but in the future, there's million of other applications for robotics. So the goal is to add yes, first picking, second I know quality inspection, and so on to make it slightly broader and yes, to make the robot useful, as I saw it as I said in the beginning.
All right. I don't think comparison to agriculture is relevant, because that automation was done by a machine that isn't smarter than the human doing it, unlike AI. I guess some counter arguments.
Yeah. Like I can agree with this, but like it really depends. If we are thinking about 5 years, 10 years, or I don't know, 50 years. Like if we are talking about 50 years, then I would not guess what will happen in 50 years. That's I think too difficult. If you take the level of AI which we can achieve today, then I don't think that it's smarter. Like it's better in very specific tasks, and that's it. But it's not, at least my definition of smart is different. Yes, we can discuss what will happen in 5 years and 10 years if we will cross that bridge or not. But I believe in 5 years probably still not. Like if you take a look at for example GPU development, and in principle that's from some point of view that limits your ability to learn AI, and more or less they can do like 2x each year or something like that, and that's from some point of view it's like I don't know 16 or something like that, and yes, that may help, but still we are solving extremely limited problem. Like even something like this Amazon Echo, I don't know, but I guess it's a set of I don't know 100 different neural networks or something like that. But probably they are somehow connected, but it's definitely not one neural network solving all your questions or something like that. I somehow don't believe that's the case. And I would say that's a proof that today it's still not that level.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like it may be when we will cross that bridge, everything can be really strange, and I don't want to predict. Like it's too difficult.
All right, this brings us to another question. Which jobs are likely to be completely replaced by machines in the near future? Let's say maybe 5 to 10 years.
Whoa. So definitely all these monkey jobs, like that's clear, and probably we will do that. So I know that it will happen. That's okay. We will handle that. I was thinking quite a lot about this digital domain, like accounting and I know banking and even programming maybe in some cases and so on. And but I still feel that even in 5 years we may automate, I don't know, maybe 90% of today job. Like you have a job description, and yes, we will automate maybe 90% of that, but probably this, let's say, very contextual, creative part of the job will grow maybe to create a new job in principle. And when you take a look at it in the history, that happened so many times that I don't know, you had I don't know what's the good yes, let's say some kind of even data analyst. Yes, like historically I know a lot of papers, then computers. Now you have crazy tools to extract some information and so on and so on, but still the job exists because yes, you are either doing much more abstract some kind of abstraction on top of the data, or you have to have some contextual information which is not included in the data and so on and so on. So I would say yes, we many times will replace or we will automate the job almost entirely, but the creative part will grow, and because that and the result will be much better, obviously. Like that job, like human plus machine will be maybe 3 times better than the old human job. But yes, as always, like we have created so many things, and yes, car is, I don't know, 100 times better than before, but yes, that will not stop us to create a new car.
Yeah. On the other hand, what do you think are the industries that are going to piggyback on this, momentum that people are going to be losing their jobs because they're going to be replaced by machines? So they're going to have to actually do something. There might be some universal basic income. There might be some new jobs created. Probably people are going to have more time. What do you think are the next big businesses or even industries being brought up or disrupted by this momentum?
Self-driving cars. That's very obvious. That's clear. I feel that also food production can be heavily automated, and really from agriculture product to the manufacturing plant to the final restaurant, everything can be quite easily automated. The question is if people will be happy with that, but I can imagine that will happen. And I'm not sure if there's something that is so I would say so clear, or the entire industry will be automated. I don't know.
Yeah. And the other perspective, so industries that actually gonna take advantage of people losing their jobs. Might be traveling, maybe some some
entertainment,
well-being, right? Do you see this for like?
Oh, and health. I think health can be maybe the largest one, because like if this triangle, I'm not sure what's the name of that guy. Like yes, if you will be happy with your job, wife and so on. So the final thing is really So and today is still, I'm not sure what is your experience or yours experience, but I feel that Yes, going to doctor, like it's usually not very good experience. And yes, if you know something about AI and if you know something about computer science, usually you are totally scared. You know, like yes, actually yesterday they did me this EAG, or what's the name of that thing, and it was printed on a paper, and I was asking, okay, what are you going to do with that paper? Yes, I will just put it here into the shelf. Great. And what you will do next time? Yes, I will take it and I will compare it. Great. So I was somehow challenging the doctor as always, and you know it's still very bad. Like and the improvement can be like I personally really believe that maybe in 20 years easily humans can live like 200 years or maybe even 300 years, and I'm totally serious. Like if you take a look at that, what we know about human body, and so it's still almost nothing. Like really, I usually compare that to debugging of let's say if you have 1 million lines of code, yes, if you are good you can still debug that. And okay, how many lines of code is a human body? No.
Yeah.
It's like much more, and we know nothing. Really.
So why do you think people are dying this young compared to your kind of prediction of living 150, 200 years? Is it the medicine that is not predictive, or is it that we have organs that are just killing us, as we live, or what is it according to your observation or prediction?
I think one important thing is that because our brain is usually not as good when we are old, in principle motivation of society is not so good to help you in principle. And it's I understand it's very crazy.
So you think it comes to psychology, like people are actually...
Yes, I think because like what's the reason for humans like why they die? It's usually something, I don't know, like heart attack. It's from some point of view it's just one, like it's an occasion, it's a moment. Like if you would be able to avoid that moment, that guy can live at least a few days when it will happen next time, but still, it's just one thing happening, and if you are able to avoid that somehow, okay, why not? And yes, you are totally right. There's quite a lot of problems you have to solve with all the organs and so on. But I still believe that you may even not have some of them. Like yes, they are important, but you can replace them. You can replace a lot of them already. So yes, if people will be open and invest enough money and effort, I believe it's possible.
Right. We have last question. So we will willingly become part of metrics.
I think so. I'm totally serious. Like that choice that all 10 people in that waiting room will take that smartphone and yeah, like nobody's forcing them to do that. They want to do that, and in principle life can be easier, in these metrics, and like like definitely if the simulation will be good enough to complement this world, like even now you don't know if you are in metrics or not. Maybe it's just a good enough simulation, and your parents didn't told.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Please give applause to Jano. Thanks again to our sponsors, Decent IBM and British Embassy in Bratislava, also to Binarium and Slido, and we're looking forward to welcome you to another chapter, which is gonna take place next month. And yeah, for now I think that's it. Enjoy some small bites, and feel free to network and maybe approach Jano with further questions. And yeah, until next time, thank you.
Thank you.